Is this called, is it the hand, it is the fingers, and so on and so forth. All those things are the concepts, and we build upon the concepts. A baby firstly know the closest family members, father, mother, and then expanding that circle to grandparents, to aunties, uncles, family friends, and then to strangers. So the concepts or the conceptual knowledge will be expanding, ever expanding. Both types of learners will be active learners who test and revise hypotheses. These are not the hypotheses about the word, but the hypothesis about language use. I need to do this. How do I say this? Is it the right way to say things, to do things? In the case of a kid with the first language, we will have things like, oh, if I'm hungry, if I'm cold, if I'm scared, how can I get food? How can I get warmth? How can I get attention of mommy, daddy? And we all know that from the beginning, all these things are done with crying, right? But baby cries are not the same all the time. If you are the caregiver, mommy, daddy, you kind of develop an understanding, the meaning of different kinds of cries. We are strangers, we are an outsider, we see nothing, we find that baby crying is just the same. But the mother, the father will know it is the cry for food, it is the cry for warmth, it is the cry for caressing, it is the cry for attention, and so on. Okay. Later on, when a kid can say something, the same thing happens. How can I get the information? How can I get my answer that I need? If I say this one and I get what I want, then it is the right thing to do. Hypothesis checked, tested, proved, remained. If I want something, I say something, I cannot what I want, this hypothesis is wrong. I need to change it. I need to change it until I get what I want. And the same with L2 learner. Okay? In both cases, we require interaction. A language is for communication. We can never learn a language without interacting with other people. In the case of a baby, with caregivers, with family members, and later on with friends. In the case of an L2 learner, we have classmates, teachers, other people in the society, in the wider community, they may have interaction with. Cognitive strategies are used in both cases. Cognitive strategies refer to the way we make sense of the information we are presented with. Cognitive refer to thinking. Okay, so in our field, in the SLA field, we have two major parts of our self. The cognitive part, how we think, is in here in our mind, and the affective part. Affective is about affection, emotions, feelings. So cognitive is about the mind, and affective is about the heart, about how we feel about things, how we like it, how we dislike it, how we hate it. Okay, so cognitive strategies are the way a person makes sense of what information, whatever information he or she receives. An example here is the overgeneralization. This is a strategy, unfortunately, not always accurate, but learners like to use them. What is overgeneralization? A rule, you think that that rule will be applied everywhere, in every context, in every situation, in every setting. That is over generalization. And it happens in both L1 and L2 learning. A typical example of overgeneralization is how we treat the ed ending, the past tense marker of verbs. Okay, so everybody knows that there are verbs we add we add ed ending to make it past. Want, wanted, needed, washed, washed, work, worked. And a learner may come to think, oh, it's the rule in English. Whenever we want to make a verb past, add ed. It is totally true. It's totally valid. English should be like that. But no, somewhere in the long history of English, somebody decided to make it hard, to make the game more complicated. À, tiếng Việt chúng ta gọi là tạo độ khó cho game đúng không? By what? By creating something called irregular verbs. And they're not the simple rule of adding ed to everything. But now we have to remember the irregular verbs endings. And then the generalized rule does not work anymore. But that is an example. That is what happened in any learner's mind in a very sensible way, I must say. They have every reason to think so. Just that the creators of English did not. Okay, some more similarities. Understand more when input is modified. Input is the language we are presented with. And of course, we are learners. We cannot understand the full, unedited, original version of language input. Like when adults to native speakers, adult native speakers talk to one another. In Vietnamese, when you talk to a baby, when you talk to a kid, we use something called caretaker talk. Talk more slowly, we use repetition, we use higher pitch, right? And when we talk to a learner in L2, the same thing. We have to modify what we say. It's something called foreigner talk, still slower speed, more frequent repetition, more explanation, probably not a higher pitch tone. We don't want to talk to L2 learner this way. We may talk to our baby this way. But still, we need modification for learners to understand what we want from them. Okay? Both kinds of learners will develop language in predictable stages. Why are these stages predictable? Because we have so many L1 learners and we have so many L2 learners. And when we have so many of incidents, we can recognize the pattern. We can see the pattern. We have a single case, we have a couple of cases, we can see a lot of randomness. But when we do have a large enough number, we will see patterns. And we will see the predictable stages. We will see the stages that most people, almost all learners will go through. It holds true to not just language learning, to motor skills development as well, for example. Most kids would learn to from the period where they can just lie down and do nothing. They will learn to how to turn sideways, right? To turn back and then to crawl and then to stand and then to walk and then to run. Those are the stages. Most kids will do this. Tiếng Việt chúng ta có những cái câu ví dụ như là chưa học bò đã lo học chạy. That is the natural thing, right? We have to learn to crawl first and then to run later on. Hoặc là chúng ta có những cái câu để nói về cái pattern, turn sideways tiếng Việt mình gọi là lẫy, 3 tháng biết lẫy, 7 tháng biết bò, 9 tháng lò dò biết đi. Đấy là cái stage, những cái stage. What about language learning? What are the stages? No one starts learning a language by saying the whole sentence. No. They will say single word first, and then a couple of words together in phrases, and then simple sentences, and then more complex sentences, and then longer speech and longer writing. That is the stage. Even with grammar, there will be some order. For example, no learner, be it a native, an L1 or L2 learner of English, can master the present perfect tense, before the present progressive tense. It's the natural way to work things out. We understand the progressive, the continuous first, before we can understand the sense of perfection. Our cognitive mind can process the idea of something happening before it can understand the idea of being completed already. Okay. And throughout those stages, of course, everybody will make developmental errors. What are errors? They're wrong things. They're wrong use of language. Yes. But what are developmental errors? There are no simple errors. They are errors that actually show the development. Like the example I gave you previously about ed ending. When you hear a kid in their mother tongue or an L2 learner say, I put the plate on the table, I drew the painting yesterday, I said something to her last week. We know that they are errors, but those errors are caused by the effort to generalize everything. It is an effort to apply a rule in their language use. And that is a sign of development. They are actually growing, they're actually developing. Those errors are not a bad sign. They are actually a good sign. Okay. And the next point, both types of learners will experience a silent period. What is a silent period? Period when you are silent? Yes. But it is an extended period when a person, be it a baby, a kid, or an L2 learner, is not ready to produce language yet. In other words, not ready to speak, not ready to talk in the new language yet. Let's look at babies. Can they talk at birth? Can they speak right away? No. It will take them about a year. But does it mean that they do not understand anything during that first year? They do not understand anything. Their father, their mother, their brother, sister, their family friends talk to them? No. They still understand things, but they are not ready yet to say things. That is the silent period for L1 learners. And the same applies to L2 learners. They will understand. They will know things. They will learn things. They will incorporate things into their mind, into the body, into their understanding, but they simply are not ready to produce language yet. So you can imagine what happened if we force them to say things. Can you force a baby to speak? No. So if we force an elder learner to produce language when he or she is not ready yet, he or she will simply find it impossible. And a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, a lot of frustration on both sides. So respect the silent period. People need time to process language input. Okay, those are just some similarities, some more important similarities, if I may say. Not all of them, right? Now let's talk about the differences. Some differences, again, not all of them. An L2 learner is usually more cognitively developed because normally we will start learning another language later in life. Of course, a few people will be raised in a bilingual setting. In that sense, in those cases, in a sense, they have two L1s. They are the L1 learner in two or more languages at the same time. But normally, usually, we start to learn another language much later in life. And then we are older, we are more developed with our mind. We know how to memorize things, we know how to compare things, we know how to organize our notes. We can understand explanation, for example. That is about L2 learners. And generally has a greater knowledge of the world. We are older. We have concepts. We know who a father is, what a dog is, what is mean by doing exercise and doing homework, what is the difference between the two things. So we can understand more because we have more concepts and generally can learn and apply rules more easily because we are more developed intellectually, right? We can understand how to apply rules. We can understand explanation. You ever see adults talking to babies, to kids? Do they use explanation? Do they talk about grammar rules? No, no. But L2 learners, yes. And L2 learners usually have more control over input. They can ask the other person to repeat, to talk more slowly, to explain, to justify, to clarify a point. A kid normally cannot do so. These differences are about just different. Okay, they are just different. We are not saying that it is better, it is worse to be like this. We are not making a comparison between the two types of learners. Now, to learner will be familiar with another culture at least. For example, Vietnamese and English. We have quite different cultures involved, right? This may be a help, this may be a hindrance, I don't know. When we have cultures clashing, meeting, you may be very open to a new culture, practices, beliefs, opinions, values, then it is a bliss, happiness for you. But if you are that conservative with your culture, you're not that open to a new culture, then it may be a root, a cause for a number of problems. Um, may have a problem with attitude and motivation. Why do we say that? Why do we say that here? Do we mean that L1 learners do not have this kind of problem? Yes. you remember how you felt being able to say the first word in Vietnamese? Probably no. Okay, we were so little then. But we can still remember, we may still remember that it was not easy at all. Oh, sorry, it was not difficult at all. It was like playing a game, learning to say things, dealing with our mother tongue until okay, until it gets serious, until we until we get to go to primary school and we have to worry about all the other things besides using the language. But then most L1 learners will happily learn their mother tongue. They do not have to be told to. They do not have to be forced to. They do not have to be asked to. But some elder learners do have to be asked, be forced, be convinced, be told to do things. Because learning another language may not be something they want to do or they like to do. It just happens to be something they have to do, like a subject at school or something their parents want them to do. And if it is the case, if it is the case, if the attitude is negative, if motivation is low, then you can see that learner is more likely to be inhibited or anxious. To be inhibited means to be scared, to be afraid. Okay? I'm scared whenever it comes to a period, the English period. I'm sweating. I tremble because I always feel unsafe in the lesson. I'm afraid that the teacher might call me to answer a question, might call me to do some review, and I have no idea about that. I oh my god, oh my god, I'm dying. So that is the thing that may happen to some elder learners. They they really feel the burden, the threat of having to do something they are not able to do. What about kids? Everything seems to be exploration, everything seems to be playing, everything seems to be fun for them. Don't have to worry about anything. Not until they go to school, for that matter. Okay, so everybody, any questions so far? No? No question? You're still listening to me? Are you sleeping?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, you are still sleeping? Okay. All right. So thank you for your insightful contribution. And now we have talked about a little bit some kind of similarities and differences between first and second language acquisition learning for that matter. Okay. Now, this is something I will give you as homework. We will not do it now, but something you will take home to think about during the coming week before we talk about later on. Okay. Um, we will talk about second language learning only this time. Okay. Temporarily forget about L1 learning. Is it better to learn a second language when one is young or when one is older? And why? Okay. Um, I would like to see your contribution in the next session. Um, Today we will end the meeting a bit early because I don't want to burden you a lot too much with things you are not prepared for. I would like you to do some readings as well to support your insights. Even though your insights, your contribution are really good already, uh, to be better prepared. So uh, it will be like this, everybody. I will be sending you some books, some materials mentioned in the syllabus. Um, I will send you a link to Google Drive so that you can download the, the books and give them a look. You have the book, you give them some look okay. Before joining the next session. We need a bit of prior reading in order to join the class discussion. Um, After we finish a presentation, not today, we have just started it. After we finish the presentation, I will also send you uh, that slideshow in PDF format so that you can make use of them when reviewing, when you do things. Um, and what else? What else I need to send you? I will send you the book summary template, the thing that you are to complete to fill in the gaps. Um, but then yes, most most importantly in this course, we need to compare um, first language and second language acquisition a lot. So it will be helpful if you can think of your own experiences as a learner of English. I myself is also I myself am a learner of English right now, even till now. Okay, we are a learner all life. So when we talk about a point during the course, when we discuss a point, when we read something in the book and we discuss, or you listen to my lecture, it will be best to put such things against your own experiences, what you have gone through as a learner. When you read the books, ask yourself, okay, this is what Alice say, this is what Delheim say, this is what Krashen say, this is what Chomsky says. Do they hold true for myself? Do I or have I ever experienced the same thing? Does that make sense to me? Or are they talking about something different? Are they talking about some strange things that I have never known about? There, you will see how you can put the theories or the hypothesis somebody, even the big names in the field, have made against what you yourself have gone through. That is how we do things in understanding and making sense of SLA. SLA is not just about what the gurus say, the guru, the experts, the really big names in the field says. It is about how you yourself has experienced it, have come to understand it. All right, all good? You know what to do? Don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you hear, whether or not it comes from me, it comes from the books, it comes from the big names in the field. Before you believe them, before you accept them, be sure to check, to verify them by putting them against what you yourself have gone through. Okay? Can you do that? Can you do that, everybody? Yes. Okay. Do you know what your homework is? Do I need to put it in the chat box again? Let me see. Okay, I will copy the question. Okay, it is the question. The homework to think about, to think about during the week. I'm making it hard for you. I'm making you to work. Oh, how mean I am. Alrighty. So it's basically what you need to do. The first session is always just light. From the second one on, um, we will we will we will go faster. We will do more. We will. I will expect the same contribution from you. Great attitude, very insightful pose, and so on. All right. This afternoon, you will be working in person. You have an in-person class with Dr. Bình, Dr. Nguyễn Thanh Bình, the Dean of the department, with the course with the subject called curriculum development. So good luck with that. Have fun with um, that course. And I'm sure that you will learn a lot from Dr. Bing's course. Okay, final words. It's good today to talk to you. You gave me a sense of interest to start this course. Be sure to keep this feeling, attitude, hopefully. All right. If you do not have any other questions, we'll stop the session now. I will try to send you the link to the material as well as something else via email first to my term, then she can pass it on to the remaining members of the class. All good? Okay? Goodbye, everyone. Take care. See you next
Thank
week.
you, teacher. Teacher.
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Okay.